Hey buds, so I just filmed a video and then I was like, well, now I'm ready. And I thought about switching back to my usual setup, but I just try and sit cross-legged on the chair when I put that up, so I really may as well just stay doing it on the floor. I spend most of my adult life just maneuvering myself into a cross-legged position on chairs that weren't built for that. So when I'm working on my dissertation, I do a lot of pensive staring, mostly at this guy who lives opposite the student union where I work, who has a balcony, who I'm wildly jealous of. But I've also, in my designated staring time, recently been thinking a lot about this idea of a strong woman. And it started on International Women's Day, mostly, because I saw a lot of lovely posts that day. I found it really heartening how much the celebration has kind of spread and become really mainstream. I feel like even 4 years or so ago you got a lot more pushback to it than you do now. It's being really embraced, so I feel really good about that. But a post that I see a lot, and not just on International Women's Day, is like, strong women, may we be them, know them, raise them, etc. A similar sort of vibe on that. Now my gut reaction to this is discomfort. Now on the one hand, I think the women I know who you would describe as strong are amazing. I think that that kind of strong is referring to like resilience, independence, motivation. I think those are good traits. I think the women I know who have those traits are incredible. And I think I'm kind of on board with what it's getting at. Like, we shouldn't have to raise little girls to be really delicate or taught to rely on men, right? I think that definitely has merit. And you know, I am consistently like impressed and taken aback by how we live in a society now where saying that kind of thing, or even that you're a feminist, is way more palatable than it once was. And you know, I do think that with that there comes a little bit of diluting of what the word maybe means. And do I wish Theresa May didn't think she got to use it? Sure, but I lean towards optimism. So I think my first inkling of where my discomfort comes from is that, to me, strong sort of implies suffering, or at least adversity. I think there's part of me that just doesn't like the idea that we have to raise daughters or anyone to sort of cope. I think I'd rather raise people to just be very soft and not have to worry about how they're going to hold up in the face of endless hardship. I think maybe, you know, it's focusing on the wrong thing, the wrong solution. And I do worry that it comes from a similar idea of women only being likeable or admirable if they've had a really terrible time. It's the whole adding in a rape story to make a female character more relatable. Suffering, the great leveler. So there's definitely a bit of me that's like, well, maybe we should focus on making a world where people don't need to be endlessly resilient and ready to fight. But you know, life is difficult, I hear. And I am generally inclined more towards like hippy-dippy vague statements rather than actual solutions, so I could well be in the wrong here. But this brings me to the thing where I think I have more of a point. Because when we triumph a certain kind of woman, I worry about who gets left out. Like, if a woman really isn't resilient or needs a lot of help or struggles, does that discount her from this brand of feminism? This whole thing of respecting women who are like go-getters and self-starters and don't need handouts or like government help is this very like individualistic and neoliberal approach. I study sociology, so I can't not use the word neoliberal, but I know I'm a joke when I use it. You know, if you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, then you're worthy of inclusion and respect, but not before that. It's kind of an easy excuse for not offering support or even empathy to women who are suffering, because if they were stronger, they'd be able to get themselves out of that situation. Look at all these strong women who pulled themselves out of that, and you can't, so clearly you're the problem. You know, like, judging women's choices and deciding who is the right kind of woman isn't a very helpful way of promoting liberation, because it by nature is not for all women. I feel like sometimes instead of just respecting women, we create new standards that women have to rise up to and new ways that women can earn respect. And honestly, some of my friends who I admire the most are people who aren't really very independent or resilient, or who ask for help, aren't a typical understanding of the word strong, and I don't see why they should have to be. And it's not that I think strong is a bad trait to have, especially in this economy. But I also would like to be able to raise people to be very tender without being crushed, or who know that a woman can be a lot of things and still be worthy of dignity and respect. It's a bit like the whole well-behaved women rarely make history thing, which was actually referring to how the everyday contributions of women are overlooked. So much of women's work is seen as mundane, even when there's like such a rich tapestry of skill and history behind it. And so it's only women who were exceptional, who were able to kick up such a fuss, that they get remembered by history. And I worry that this whole strong women thing creates a similar kind of exceptionalism. It's like, here's your average woman and she's a bit shit, and here's a strong woman, new to 2K18. She's probably a lawyer or something else that requires a fitted blazer and makes a lot of money, and she definitely doesn't cry at both faint praise and gentle criticism. It's just a new standard, another hoop to jump through, another way of saying there's a right kind of way of being a woman. So, you know, here's to weak women, here's to women who are having a really tough time, here's to women who are a bit cold and distant, here's to women who are really over emotional. Here's to all kinds of women, and using days like International Women's Day to further all women's liberation, regardless of what their personality is like. Except Theresa May. Is that fair? I've said it. Anyway, let's all be soft in 2018. Let me know what you think. I'm still kind of formulating my ideas on this one. I don't know if you can tell from how I phrased everything in this video like a question. But yeah, I'd love to talk about this with you guys, and I will see you again soon.